Think about the sound a body makes when it's in danger. A gasp, a scream, a groan that comes from somewhere below language. Now think about the fact that for most of human history, that sound was the soundtrack to bringing new humans into the world. Childbirth, for you, is not simple. It's not quick, and it's not gentle. Compare that to almost any other mammal on Earth. A gazelle gives birth standing up, alone, and is running again within the hour. A chimpanzee, your closest living relative, often delivers her baby in near silence, unassisted, in the middle of the night, and is climbing trees again by morning. You don't get that option. Human birth can take 12, 18, sometimes 24 hours. It is physically dangerous enough that without help, a meaningful percentage of mothers and infants wouldn't survive it. And it hurts in a way that researchers who study pain intensity routinely rank near the top of human experience. Here's the part that should stop you. This isn't a flaw. It isn't evolution failing to do its job. It's evolution doing exactly what it does, solving one problem so well that it accidentally created another one. And the way humans responded to that problem may have quietly shaped who you are as a social creature today. Most people assume childbirth is just naturally brutal, that pain is simply the price of having a body. But that explanation falls apart the moment you look at other primates. Something specific happened in the human lineage, something structural. And once you see what it is, you can't unsee it. It starts with two enormous evolutionary bets that your ancestors made at roughly the same time, and those bets were in direct conflict with each other. The first bet, walking upright. Somewhere around 6 or 7 million years ago, early human ancestors began standing and moving on 2 legs instead of 4. Bipedalism freed the hands, allowed for tool use and long-distance walking, and became one of the defining features of the entire human lineage. But it came with a structural cost. To balance a body vertically over 2 legs, the pelvis had to narrow and reshape into something closer to a bowl than the broader, looser hip structure seen in other apes. The second bet? A bigger brain. Starting around 2 million years ago, the human brain began expanding dramatically, eventually reaching roughly 3 times the size of a chimpanzee's. A bigger brain meant more complex thinking, more elaborate tool use, deeper social bonds, and language. It's arguably the single biggest reason your species dominates the planet the way it does. Do you see the problem yet? One evolutionary pressure was narrowing the passageway. The other was enlarging the thing that had to pass through it. Anthropologists call this collision the obstetrical dilemma, a term first proposed by biological anthropologist Sherwood Washburn in the 1960s, and still central to how researchers understand human birth today. Evolution couldn't simply widen the pelvis indefinitely to accommodate bigger-brained babies, because a wider pelvis makes upright walking and running less efficient. And for hundreds of thousands of years, efficient walking and running were matters of survival. So natural selection found a compromise instead. It didn't fully resolve the conflict. It split the difference. That compromise is you, as a newborn. Human babies are born at a much earlier stage of neurological development than other primates. A newborn chimpanzee can cling to its mother's fur within hours. A newborn human can't hold up its own head. Some researchers describe human infants as being born roughly a year too early compared to where other primates are developmentally at birth, sometimes called the 4th trimester. Your brain kept growing rapidly after birth instead of before it, because that was the only way to fit through a pelvis that could only narrow so much. This is why human infancy is so long and so intensely dependent. It's the evolutionary price paid so the head could fit at all. And even with that compromise, birth remained tight, difficult,
and slow, because the fit is still structurally a squeeze. But a tight fit doesn't fully explain the intensity of the pain or why the process takes so long. For that, you have to look at what was happening on the other side of this problem, inside the nervous system. Contraction strong enough to move a baby through a narrowed pelvis generates serious physical stress. In response, the body evolved its own internal pharmacy. During labor, levels of beta endorphins, the body's natural opioids, rise dramatically, sometimes reaching levels several times higher than at rest. These aren't just painkillers. They also produce an altered, almost trance-like state that researchers have observed across cultures, sometimes described as laborland, a mental shift that helps a mother tolerate and move through the intensity rather than panic against it.
At the same time, oxytocin, often nicknamed the bonding hormone, surges during labor and delivery. It drives contractions forward, and it also plays a central role in triggering maternal attachment and trust immediately after birth. Your body wasn't just tolerating an unusually difficult event. It was chemically preparing you to bond with another person through it. There's also a psychological layer researchers have identified called the fear-tension-pain cycle, first described by physician Grantley Dick Reed. Fear causes muscular tension, tension increases pain, and pain increases fear, a loop that can intensify labor. If a mother is left alone, frightened, and without support, which raises the real question this has been building toward. If birth is this physically demanding and this psychologically vulnerable, how did anyone survive it for the hundreds of thousands of years before hospitals, epidurals, or modern medicine existed? The answer isn't found in biology alone. It's found in behavior. Anthropologists studying birth across traditional societies worldwide have documented something remarkably consistent. Humans almost never gave birth completely alone.
Unlike most other primates, human mothers, across an overwhelming majority of studied cultures, were attended by other people during labor, usually experienced women, mothers, sisters, midwives, elders. Medical anthropologists sometimes call this pattern social birth, and its consistency across unrelated, geographically distant cultures suggests it isn't a coincidence or a modern invention. It looks like a deeply rooted evolutionary strategy in its own right. This matters because of something researchers refer to as the doula effect. Multiple studies on continuous labor support, a companion offering steady presence, reassurance, touch, and encouragement throughout labor, have found associations with shorter labors, reduced likelihood of needing interventions, and lower reported pain and anxiety. Slowly, presence alone appears to measurably change how the body experiences one of its most demanding events. Presence alone appears to measurably change how the body experiences one of its most demanding events. Some evolutionary anthropologists have proposed a striking idea. Human childbirth may have helped drive the depth of human social cooperation itself, not the other way around. Because birth had become so difficult, so unpredictable, and so risky, mothers who had reliable help attending them were more likely to survive it, and so were their infants. over enormous stretches of time, this could have created a selective advantage for the kind of dense social bonds, cooperation, and shared knowledge transfer between women that later became a hallmark of human communities more broadly. In other words, one of the most physically brutal aspects of being human may have been one of the quiet forces that made humans as intensely social as they are. That reframes everything. The pain wasn't a design flaw evolution simply failed to fix. It was one side of a trade-off, bipedalism against brain size, that produced a level of difficulty no individual body could safely handle completely alone. And so, evolution built a second solution on top of the biological one, a social one, a near universal instinct expressed differently in every culture but present in almost all of them, to surround a laboring mother with experienced hands and calm, steady voices. That's why, even now, in hospitals with monitors and medication and trained physicians, something in most birthing rooms hasn't changed at all. A partner holding a hand, a nurse offering calm reassurance, someone simply staying present through every contraction. It can look like modern comfort or bedside manner. It's actually far older than that. The next time you hear that someone had a doula or a birth partner, and think of it as a modern wellness trend, remember what it actually is. It's not an accessory added on to childbirth. It's the second half of a solution your species has depended on since long before anyone wrote it down. Proof that surviving one of life's most difficult moments was never something evolution expected a body to do by itself.